chairperson for PACLIG National. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you this morning. We have two speakers who are going to share with you their stories on Youth Month, and I hope that those participants that will be joining us shortly will also get the benefit of this morning. Colleagues, as you know, the commemoration of Youth Day and Youth Month are opportunities for us to take stock of the strides that we have made, and also a reminder of the challenges that still remain. And without empowering the youth of our country, we cannot think about progressing and growing. And for our youth to envision a future that is conducive to growth and prosperity, we need not to look back, but rather we need to move forward and take the next step in making an imagined future a reality. And we know that the future of a nation depends upon the youth of a country. So, having said that, we need to now look at libraries, and more especially public libraries, and the role that we can play in bringing our youth in. I know literacy is a huge challenge in our country right now, but there are other ways and means to empower the youth. We cannot just look at the aspect of saying, well, if you can't read or you can't write, there's nothing that you can do. There are opportunities out there for us to grow, develop, and empower our youth. So this morning, we have two speakers. The first one being Injabulo Chogani, and he's going to speak on the role libraries play in the lives of the youth. Now, Injabulo is somebody
Shanita. Sunita, I think we lost Shanita.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
We're on load shedding. We're on load shedding. You carry on.
Okay, so Injabulo is speaking.
Injabulo.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, introduce him. Just apologize for me. Just tell them I'm cut out with load shedding.
Okay, no problem. Sorry about that, Shanita. Thank you. Okay,
just
thanks.
Introduce him, right? And he'll start.
Okay,
bye,
thank you.
Bye.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that. An apology from Shanita Beam. They're having load shedding presently, so I'm just going to be taking over from her. My name is Sunita Richard, and I would like to introduce to you Injabulo Tagane. He is one of our dynamic and innovative youth within our library. He's also a friend of the library. Without further ado, I'm just going to call Njabulo to take over. Thank you, Njabulo.
Thank you very much, Sunitha. It goes to say that we have a huge task, not only government and also as the community, to look at how to solve ESCOM and its load shedding issue. I don't know if my presentation can display from that side. Can I just get someone to confirm?
Yes,
Yes, we
confirmed
can
and
see your
okay.
presentation.
Thank you very much. Once again, good morning to everyone. Firstly, let me just thank the organizers of this event for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. I'm really pleased to be part of this engagement and look forward to have a very constructive and fruitful reflections and engaging in terms of commemorating the Youth Month and the Youth Day, and what's still left for us to do, because I believe that they had a role to play, and every time we commemorate, it's all about looking at what they did, where we are, and I think it's a best opportunity for us to just pause, reflect, and see if are we still continuing going the right way, what needs to be done, and how can we impart knowledge and share amongst our best practices that we use. So I think my presentation will just look at, I'll give a bit introduction about myself. I know that Sunitha did a little bit. And then my presentation would really look tied to the theme that I've been given to speak on today, which is identifying the role that libraries play in the lives of the youth in their respective communities where the libraries exist, particularly zooming into public libraries. We're going to give a little of context, the role, and also just looking at, for me, I thought that most critical services that the libraries should be giving and which they are giving, and what needs to be done, how can we strengthen such. So we'll touch on the access to knowledge and information, educational support, technology access and digital literacy, as well as community engagement and social connections. And yeah, and then we just give it a conclusion around of this. So as has been said, my name is Njabulo Wagatukane. I regard myself as a youth activist with a strong focus on sexual and reproductive health and rights, as well as social entrepreneurship. I have over 12 years of experience in working with community and youth development. This I acquired in serving in different organizations, which is a youth-led, also in terms of provincial and national level. I'm currently the chairperson of a youth-led organization called Empowering Youth, which is really aiming to support, develop, and connect young people so that they can be able to make informed life choices and have a well-being, and also looking at sustainable living towards the future. I'm also currently a development manager at X-Axis, where I play a role in terms of providing tools and models that can develop communities to be self-sustainable, particularly in rural areas, and also looking at economic well-being of those communities. I've also served within the United Nations under the United Nations Population Fund program, where I was a youth advisory panel member from 2019 to 2021. And our responsibility or role that we had was really to speak to policymakers around issues of sexual and reproductive health and rights. So we would influence the shape and design of policies that would affect and impact young people in terms of sexual and reproductive health and rights and access to clinics. One of the flagship programs that we were able to do and emphasize and make sure that young people do receive such services was the happy hour, the clinic service, where young people would really have a space where they will be helped in terms of getting sexual reproductive services, because there was a stigma that young people do not go and utilize services at the clinic, in terms of, because there are people who work there, either their neighbor or their auntie, so they'll be charged. So that was one of the flagship projects that we were able to push and ensure that policies, implementers do really make a safe and conducive environment for young people to access health issues. So yeah, that's all about me. So I think it will be very important for me to really start the presentation to really look at the importance of libraries as a resource, to a young person's life. And I start off by saying that libraries are not only for books, but more than that. But there's been a perception, and I say that, and there's a lot that we need to unroot that perception. And I say we because I was a victim of that growing up in my primary and high school level. I only thought that libraries are only for books. And I think it's because of the institutional structure of the library, in terms of, you don't make noise, there's orderly silence and so forth. And also, and the excursions that took place at that time, where the educators would take us to the library and just give us a tour. And you saw this is formality, something formal. So I really thought it was only for one to go and learn the book, take it back, read it, and take it back to the library. So I only thought, and only when I reached my tertiary institution level, that's when I got to really look at, no, man, library is not only for books, for reading. There's much more to it, and it's a very crucial and important facilities or institution in the development of our community. And you will find that in most communities, and in South Africa, largely in terms of class segregation, most of the population are the working class. And in terms of that working class, the majority in terms of gender are women. And these women are household in their families, they're the breadwinners. So you find that also when you need to take your child to a library, where now we're placing the responsibility to the parents, there's no such activity that's taking place, particularly also in the African community, because the women who are supposed to do that and are at work, and if not at work, on weekends or after the gates, they'll mostly spend that time that they get to do chores and responsibilities at home. So you find that there's a huge gap now to introduce young people or children at a tender age about the library, in terms of even taking them to borrow and lend a book. That activity is much placed with the school. And I think that way also we need to look at, how do we ensure that the issue of library does not only be placed on the school, for the school to introduce the learners, but also how do we also at home? And I think what I've alluded on in terms of the factors that hinder such to happen. And for me also, I think, libraries serves as a knowledge hub that aims to meet the informational, educational, cultural, and recreational needs of the community wherever it exists. And therefore, it's an institution that goes beyond books, and it serves as a very important resource in the development of our community, as I've alluded on, in terms of facilitating learning, providing access to information, promote literacy, and foster a culture of enrichment. So I thought, let me just start this presentation by really looking at the important role that the library plays, particularly as a resource to the self-development of the young people. And I think there's a perception that we need to have, not only place it to libraries, but also as young people who are activists in their rights, and also community development. How do we particularly try and mobilize these young people to go to libraries, not only for books, but for more than that, because that's the only thing that we can do to self-develop ourselves. I would then speak to the access to information. And I think for me, this is just my personal view to say that is the most critical service that the library needs to provide, the information to knowledge and information, the access, to knowledge and information. And it depends on which patron, what type of people who then would utilize the information, starting from a school child up until to a senior citizen within the community. So you can really see that the library really services a large or a spectrum of different people within our communities. And I think in a form of information, this would include books, ebooks, magazines, periodicals, and research materials, particularly mostly used when it comes to school learners. And I think also one of the projects that I'll touch on it, excuse me, when I look at the type of the projects that we did with one of the libraries is to look at how can business opportunities, business research also be seen as a services or a source of information and knowledge that can really help young people to start their own businesses, because research tells us that there's a huge rate of unemployment. And one of the key drivers that can really help to solve unemployment is actually entrepreneurship, where we get young people to start their own businesses. And using library, for me, I think is a very crucial element where they can issue out information, from your business plans to business registration, the type of business, and so forth. So hence, that's why it goes beyond just for research material for only the purpose of academic in terms of school. We'll also look at the educational system part of it. And again, this is also my personal view, that I believe that the library unit should be really placed under Department of Education. Because if you have to really think about it, a child starting from preschool really becomes one of the key, or becomes a customer or patron of the library up until they reach their tertiary level and of learning. And I believe that it would really sit well in that department, and maybe perhaps we can see even the increase of budget wise, and it could actually have a real alignment in terms of trying to get young people to read and write. And currently we have that issue in South Africa, where we have poor literacy in our country, and that really paints a very bad picture, and we should be worried, because the next generation that is coming, these are people that who are going to be leaders in their own rights. We want to be managers, counselors, parliamentarians, and we have this issue that they can't read and write at grade 5 or grade 4. Even worse, some of the work that we do as an organization empowering youth is to help young people apply to further their studies in tertiary, and it's very difficult, for even them to interact with the content, and for them to even utilize the computer, so to say. So that we have a very big issue, and we should be worried, and we should take it upon ourselves. I know that the libraries have a wide range of campaigns, even during the read aloud and so forth, which really tries to help the scourge that we have on the poor literacy. So yeah, I think that's also very important. So libraries really play a very crucial role in supporting youth in the educational journey. The start from preschool up until tertiary, while the ones that I've been mentioning. And I think this support is provided through textbooks and study materials. And I'll keep making reference on Eastwood Library, because that's the closest library that I normally utilize, or where I'm actually based at. And I know that they do provide this. And also Basiad Library, I have been a patron. I am a card-carrying hold member. So I have also conducted my study sessions and used some study materials when I was still at universities. So I think this is a support that's generally is currently being issued. I think maybe in some other corners of the country, it would be in terms of the different dynamics, either in terms of infrastructure, that would be the only cause. I think maybe Sunita would also touch on that perhaps. And also looking at the homework help and tutoring. I'm not sure if all libraries implement, particularly the homework help. And I think this one is a very, very crucial support that, you know, young people need, particularly as I did mention earlier on in the presentation, that the type of communities, that the setup that we have in African society, you find that women are the majority house head, and they are the breadwinners. So they're always at work, they come back late, so they don't have much time to give to their children, where they can actually help them with the homework. And that's where the issue of poor literacy also adds on, because the parents need to do other chores and understand it's very important. No parent, you know, in that type of setup can just leave whatever they're doing and spare an hour to help the learner. So I think then the libraries then become a very important center to really help those learners, you know, with the homework and tutoring. And I think it's something that needs to cut across from grade 1 up until grade 12, if we are really, you know, wanting to provide a solution to this issue of literacy. So I think this is, for me, would be a very, very key and important support to be provided. And also the educational programs and workshops. I made an example of how to reference. And I know Sunitha sometimes did have a workshop on referencing, you know, Harvard referencing. And this is also an issue. During my time at the university, you know, the education system that we have in South Africa, and I think this is a conversation for another day, is really not preparing young people to be critical thinkers, you know. And the issues, you have students who are even doing their honors degrees who are battling in terms of referencing. And this is something we only acquired in your tertiary level, and you are expected to then deliver on that. And I think this is a type of programs that can also help close that breach, you know, if you really want to produce people who are academic-wise, people who can help us to really think about processes, who can really make us think about policies. And I think this becomes a very crucial thing. Also, creative writing. So having such workshops, and most of our work now is delivered through essays. I think from higher phase, I think that's grade 10, you are then required to do an essay, and that's where even the critical thinking part adds on. And I think this would be a very, very good initiative for libraries to implement, whereby we are only not acquiring education at school, but using library also as another source of us to acquire such knowledge. The digital learning resource, this includes now the e-platform. I think we need to move with the standard. We are moving with OIR, and this then becomes also a crucial point that we start introducing to e-learning platforms. Most of the university students attending UNISA, and with COVID, you know, it introduced the whole online learning, online writing, and most of the libraries are having UNISA students. And I think these e-learning platforms through the cyber program could really help, you know, to give that support to young people, because most of our learning materials are now online, in terms of accessing it, in terms of strengthening the Wi-Fi and making sure that, you know, it does not cut off. And I think the issues of load shedding, you know, really plays, you know, a negative role now in terms of accessing these e-learning platforms. So really, I think, you know, by offering such services, libraries are really the key in ensuring valuable education support system for young people, particularly in the less deserving or disadvantaged communities, really, where they don't even have access to internet, which is now the issue of affordability of data. So such can really create a conducive environment for learning, exploration, and personal growth on young people, and also ultimately to empower them. I'm also going to touch on, you know, the technology and access to digital illiteracy. And I think South Africa, as a developing country, you know, we are still way back in terms of access to technology. And there's a really issue of digital divide. And this stems off in terms of infrastructure, you know, and I think we need to acknowledge and appreciate the fact that South Africa is faced with the triple threat challenges, and one of them being inequality. And then the issue of inequality then hinders people and in this case, particularly young people, to have access to technology, and digital literacy. And this is the issue of infrastructure, where they don't have Wi-Fi connection, the issue of affordability of data, the issue of affordability in terms of smartphone, laptops, and so forth. And we saw this the inequality in the digital divide, where schools in towns continued their learning and teaching on online platforms, and you had rural and township schools having to hold back their learning and teaching because they don't have tools and infrastructure to have access to that. So for me, again, libraries can play a crucial role in bridging the digital divide by providing access to technology and promoting digital literacy skills. Because currently, even the job market that is out there, they're looking for people who are digital savvy. So if you have young people who are not digital or technology savvy, then really it puts them in the NEETs, which is youth not in education or even training. So you'll find that there is a huge part of unemployment, and you find that those type of young people then only require job opportunities that don't require any other special skills. And that's the problem we have, because most of our countries, even in South Africa, we now need talent. We need a certain critical skill that could help expand our economy. So this really speaks to then how do we expand an economy that will need low-skilled people. So also here the libraries play a very crucial role. This is through the provision of computer, internet access, of if I'm aware that if not 99%, perhaps 50% of the libraries throughout South Africa is providing such support. And for me, I think we have successfully conducted a program with the municipality library services in Basseyhead and Eastwood, and we are able to date today to train 140 young people on basic computer training. And these young people, some of them have never even have access, engaging with the computers. It was the first time. And there's a growing need for this. And we are then also trying to expand to other libraries within our districts. That's been Kambatini and Richmond. And I think this partnership is really helping in that way. And also perhaps, for libraries to look at, technology-related resources, which includes software programming, digital media. And I'm aware in Basseyhead Library, they've got American Corner, and I see there's a podcast studio. And podcast is one of the, platform that's really on the rise, in terms of creating job opportunities for creators, for creative. And we see this, what it's really doing within the mainstream media. It's disrupting the mainstream media. And if young people have access to a podcast studio where they can record their content and go on YouTube and sell their content, that really is an alternative means of trying to create self-sustaining job opportunities for these young people. And I think Basseyhead Library is really leading that process, and perhaps also could look at expanding to even providing coding trainings, and also how can we really use these technology-related materials to really support the issue of unemployment, and how can young people empower themselves in that sense, where going to the library, getting the particular skills which we can use in the mainstream technology of our country. And also, again, looking at the digital literacy programs, such as, I think this also stems off the ebooks, where we can now have audiobooks online, have the books also online. So that the type of support really that will go hand in hand when we're talking about the development of people to participate in the 4R. Because if you have 4R and you have the masses, the majority of people who are not developed, who are not trained to partake in that particular economy, then we have a problem. You'll continue to be spectators and you'll not benefit from that to reach ourselves. I'm looking at the drone market. The drone market is growing very much. I'm looking at security is going to drone farming, and that's where our thinking should also look at. And young people being the majority of the population, making up to about 20.6 million, and that's making like that 35% of the current population of South Africa. So I think the type of partnership that we would look at is to really bring in the private sector. We shouldn't leave the private sector aside. As much as, yes, government is responsible, but for government is to make a conducive environment, then private sector then comes in to make sure that it also partake in the development of young people, working hand in hand with NGOs, because if we work in silos, we'll be pulling in different streams and we won't really come together to achieve these universal goals of the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. And I think only then we can make an impactful contribution if we are integrated and we're able to work as a collective. I think also, for the fact that libraries exist in a society, I think it's very also important to look at how is it conducted in its engagement with the community, as well as social connections for young people to be a foundation for them to really start their development. I can just imagine, a young person wanting, for instance, to do a CV, start a business. They should think what comes to mind to them first should be a library, as I alluded in the beginning of the presentation. What are we doing to be in the faces of the generations as libraries? To have libraries existing online, in a sense that young people are now online. I mean, I'm talking about TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. I think also in terms of how we market and how we package our services as libraries should speak to the current generation. And the current generation is a generation that exists online. We no more Google has to say that we no more go online, but we live online. And that's the type of reality. And I think also the approach needs to also speak to that. And I think even also the community engagement itself and the social connection should be in the such, whereby you have libraries conducting workshops, and I'm aware that majority of the libraries do conduct workshops, and this is a primary tool to really bring people to the institution itself by conducting different workshops, which will be appealing to the community and the people itself. And I think this is where then the issue of conducting a community assessment comes in, because you cannot do any workshop that does not speak to the need of the particular community. Now, the social connection and the research itself become crucial at this point, because you will have an understanding as a librarian, what are the issues that young people are going through, what type of workshops that then can one present in the institution that can really help. So really this speaks, by libraries organizing cultural activities, which happens, and I'm glad to see such and have been participating in some also, the social events, and really a library being a safe space for young people to have and just to connect the peers. And one of the things also that I see most of the libraries doing is the study sessions, and I don't know what happened this year. Perhaps they have this cross-night study sessions. Remember, this cross-night study session would bring different young people from different schools. Now you're creating the cultural and diverse engagement amongst young people where there'll be social connection in that, and they're pursuing a common goal is to study towards passing. And that for me is just one of the examples that, libraries need to strengthen on, and I know they are doing in creating those spaces for young people. And that will then explore a sense of interest and also engaging in meaningful interactions. And I think empowering youth and Eastwood Library has been doing this very, very great. And just, to really, really thank the openness that the Eastwood Library has. And also the Msunduzi Library Services, so to say, because we work with 4 different libraries throughout the Msunduzi. And we know when we come to their doorstep, they're always willing to work with organization, particularly youth organization. And I think for me, that's a sense to say that, you know what, we really are meaning when we say that we want to empower young people. We do not only say it, but action orientated. That for me really indicates that the library profession is really taking youth development seriously, because that's how we actually measure it in terms of, are you putting sufficient resources to youth development? Right now, I'm one of those young people who is really talking about the budget of that goes towards youth development. So just quickly to look at some of the programs that we have implemented with the different libraries across Msunduzi municipalities, as I've indicated. So we have Eastwood Library, we have done dialogues. It's also created a safe space for us to meet and engage in our meetings, workshop, CAO application support for young people, and also computer training. We've also worked with Georgetown through the implementation of our flagship program called Sizophumelela Youth Empowerment Project. A Landscape Library, we also did, CAO application, and we tried to establish what we call an information hub, where people can come in and have different access even to how to start their business, register their business, and just trying to make a library a one-stop shop for a development of young people, particularly in terms of economic alternatives, or rather job alternatives. Basically, libraries have indicated we have conducted computer training in partnership with them. And also Ashdown Library, we have conducted some CAO application process with them, where young people come to the library and we just partner in supporting that constituencies. I think this is just the pictures of some of the work that we have done with the different libraries. So I think in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, really is to say that libraries are very important institutions that significantly impacts the lives of young people. We just need to really look at how do we bring those young people to the library, not only to look at it as a space or a place where you just learn the book, but the holistic human development itself is there. So yeah, with that, I would thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity, and yeah, thank you very much.
Wow, that was awesome. Colleagues, I must apologize. We have had network issues with load shedding, so I'm currently running on 2 devices in case I go off again. Thank you, Sunita, for continuing and with the introduction of Injabulo. Injabulo, you are one dynamic individual, and we cannot thank you enough for sharing your worth that you deliver in our communities here in Pietermaritzburg. And I think this is a stepping stone, perhaps for other librarians in our group right now that are listening to this presentation, that can probably also reach out to you and maybe share this information and give them an opportunity to also network with their youth and get the best out of them. And I loved what you said, that your library can become a one-stop shop. And that is what we are aiming to achieve. But awesome presentation. Thank you so much, Injabulo. We will have a short question and answer presentation after this. So perhaps now with time constraints, I'd like to call upon Sandile Izzat, who's going to do a little poem for us. And just to give us a little bit of some time out, so we're going to have a poem recital by Sandile in Ndlovu. So Sandile, the floor is all yours.
Good morning, everyone. I greet you all. I would like to thank this opportunity to come and share my poem with you guys. So my poem is mixed. It's in English and isiZulu. So I am Sandile Mbedu from Eastwood Library, and the topic of my poem that I'm going to share today, it says, "Together as a nation, we are the Rainbow Nation." So here I start my poem. Kuthatha kube nzima kakhulu uma ngicabanga okwakwenzeka ngalezi yakhathi. Ngoba ngalezi yakhathi lachitheka igazi. Eyazi basala abanye abazali baphenduka abafelokazi. Ngoba nabesilisa basebephenduka amakhosikazi. Together as a nation, we are the Rainbow Nation. Ngakho umuntu omusha kusezandleni zakho ukuthi uphumelele. Umzali wakho mayelele ebusuku ungaphumelele. Sengingasasho ke wena phumelele. Kumele sihlomisaneni empilweni ukuze siphumeleleni. Kuhle kweskipa sePakistan mawuswasha umbala siphumele, nathi obala kwamele siphumele. Ukuthi ungumAfrika lokho ukumele futhi ukumele. Kumele uhlale ukhumbula ukuthi kunegazi elachitheka ukuze mina nawe sizokhuleka. Ngakho ukucwasana kusasizi kodwa kunalokho kuzoletha usizi silusizi Mzansi Afrika nathi siyamdinga umsizi. Together as a nation, we are the Rainbow Nation. Black nation were abused because of their skin color. Blacks and whites, we are the same but differ in color. But that's the past because now we are living to the new democracy where everyone got their rights. All rights, Indians, blacks, Boers and others. It is your right to combine together because together, I repeat, together, we are the Rainbow Nation. Together as a nation, we are the Rainbow Nation. The bodies of young people were scattered. Their innocent blood was splitted. With big guns, they were shooted. Only one thing they needed was apartheid to end. Oh yes, indeed. Apartheid came to an end. To jail, Nelson Mandela was released. Gukitadi Dragon, Gimbo Genga give up. Eastwood Library, I represent. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Sandile. Very powerful young man who has a lot of talent, and I'm sure he is going to grow tremendously in the future. Another youth example who has been using the library and who is growing and developing. Sandile takes part in a lot of programs at the library, and this is his means of networking and reaching out to other youth as well. So thank you so much, Sandile, for that lovely poem. You are awesome. Colleagues, I'm now going to present to you Sunita Richard. She is not new to the LIASA platform. She has been quite dynamic in LIASA. She has done a lot of wonderful programs. She is the current chair-elect for LIASA KZN. She was the National Librarian of the Year for 2019. And also she received the Changemaker Award for 2021. Sunita has a passion for community development, and her main focus is striving to achieve sustainable development goals through library programs. Sunita has also been part of the International Network of Emerging Library Innovators. I think that was the AFLIA program, so she is well acquainted in the field of librarianship, having 26 years behind her. I am proud to present Ms. Sunita Richard, who will be sharing with you public libraries as partners in youth development. Sunita, I hand over to you.
Thank you, Shanita, for the opportunity. I'm really honored to be on this platform, so thank you so much. My topic, hello to everybody else as well. As you can see, my topic is on public libraries as partners in youth development. Injabulo has done a fantastic job in going through a lot of the stuff that I think there may be an overlap, but I'm going to try my best to continue. So basically, my presentation is more of guidelines for library services for young adults, which provides a framework for developing services to young adults and libraries. So these are practical ideas that can improve the library's response to meeting the educational, informational, cultural, and leisure needs of young adults. I know each public library has a different communities to serve and therefore different priorities and needs. Although special library services for young adults have not been well established in all countries or all provinces, these guidelines are created in the belief that young adulthood is a unique life stage. Young adults are entitled to the same quality of library services offered to other age groups in the population. Wherever possible, the services should be developed in partnership with young adults themselves. And that's something that I would like to stress. Because whenever we develop policies and procedures, we forget to include the young adults to hear their voice, and that is very important. We all know that young adults are valuable members of our library community who deserve the same respect, dignity, and human rights as all library members. The public library, we know, is the local gateway to knowledge, which provides a basic condition for lifelong learning, independent decision-making, and cultural development of the individual and social groups. Therefore, we believe the UNESCO manifesto proclaims the belief in the public library as a living force for education, culture, and information. And we know that teenagers need special attention since many abandon voluntary reading at this early stage in their lives. The introduction to a wide array of books compatible with their changing interests should be encouraged by librarians and others who are aware of their psychological and emotional growth. The mission of the library with respect to young adult service is to assist the individual in achieving a successful transition from childhood to adulthood by providing both access to resources and an environment that meets the specific needs of young adults for intellectual, emotional, and social development. So as librarians, we know we need to have a proper framework for them. And I'm just going to go over 10 basic goals that we can provide for ourselves when developing our young adult section. Right? Every library should have a clear policy statement concerning the right to free access by young adults to library resources and information sources, and respect the rights of young adults to select materials appropriate to their needs without censorship. I know many librarians even go when they are procuring books. How many of us actually go and even speak to our young adults and find exactly what is it that they need? What books are of interest to them? And I think we fall short because very few of us even do that. We don't consult with the young adults. We basically go for book selection, choose what we feel young adults would like. So I think it's important for us to get to know our community first, get to see what is it that they like or don't like. Every community is unique. Every community has different people, whether it's race, language, likes, dislikes. So we need to take all of that into consideration. The library program for young adults should be effectively managed according to best practices. There should be equitable distribution of resources to support programs and services for young adults. Library staff should be knowledgeable about adolescent development and age-appropriate resources for young adults, inclusive of those with special needs. And once again, here as well, we also fall short because lots of us feel that we do not know how to deal with young adults because they are too difficult. So we need to try and see how we can change things around, how we can become the young adults' friends, rather than pulling ourselves away from the young people. The library should provide a wide spectrum of current materials of interest to young adults to encourage lifelong learning, literacy, reading motivation, and reader development. The library should provide resources to support the educational needs of young adults. The library should assist young adults in acquiring the skills effectively to access all library resources and become information and computer literate. Number 7 is very important, even number 6 as well, goal number 6 and number 7. And Njibolo even mentioned it as well. What are we doing as librarians to help children when it comes to resources? Some of the children that come into the library, they don't even know how to use the library. What are we doing to empower them? So we need to just also recheck what are we doing? How can we help them to better utilize our resources? Are we guiding them? Are we showing them how to use our guides, our catalogs, etc., our shelves, how books are set? Do we actually have library orientation like how we used to in the past? And those are the things we need to start implementing currently as well. We've actually forgotten the basics, and we need to go back to basics in showing youth how to go about using the library. What is a bibliography? What is an index? What is a contents page? How does it help them to use the resource effectively? The basic things we need to go back and start teaching our youth as well. Referencing, which Njabula mentioned as well. Let's have a referencing class for the young adult. You know, whether it's during school hours or after hours, whether we can, even if we can go to the school and speak to the English teacher to coordinate, showing children how to do referencing as well. Right, point number 8, the library
Move your
should foster
slides,
youth
please.
development.
Sorry, Sunita, move your slides, please. We're still at number 4.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry. Okay, point number 8, the library should foster youth development by providing opportunities for youth to participate in planning and implementing library programs and services for themselves and volunteer opportunities for helping others. Basically, this means, as you see, today I've got in Jabulo, part of the youth who have also brought on board with Shanita's permission as well. We've got Sandila here. I'm always consulting with our youth, seeing what is it that we can do together. And this is what we as librarians do. Everyone within our community, when it comes to the youth, has their own niche. See how we can use them, get their input, and see how we can help develop other youth at the same time. Point number 9, the library creates an area just for young adults that is attractive and that reflects their lifestyle. Now, once again, point number 9, I know lots of librarians will say we don't have a budget, but let's think out of the box. Let's recycle material and bring it into the library and make our library attractive. Speak to your other stakeholders, see how they can come in and revamp your little corner that the young adults can come and use and enjoy as well. Number 10, point number 10, the library works in partners with other community agencies, organizations to support all aspects of a healthy, successful youth development. Simple over here, we need to partner with other stakeholders. We need to network. We need to see how we all can clap each other's hands and work together for the betterment of youth. You see, example with us at Eastwood, we work very closely with youth empowerment, who do so many programs that we bring into the library. And that is how we get the youth into the library. Each public library has a different communities to serve, and therefore different priorities and needs. Although specific services for young adults have not been well established in all libraries, these goals are created in the belief that the young adulthood is a unique life stage and that young adults are entitled to the same equality of library services offered to other age groups in the population. So we just need to sit back and readdress where we are in our library services, what we can do to change things up, how we can make the young adults inclusive of everything that we do. I know some public libraries zone in more on early childhood development or the old age, forgetting about the youth. So this is what we're saying, let's try and bring them back. Let's go to our schools. Let's try and do things and see how we can help them out. Programs and youth participation. Libraries who wish to offer effective and meaningful programs for young adults must seek out their participation at all stages of the program process. So this simply means is get the youth involved when you are hosting a program. Communicate, collaborate with them, taking their ideas and make it better. Involving young adults in decision-making, planning, and implementing programs for themselves is highly recommended as a best practice that contributes to positive youth development. The young adults should be recognized as the experts on what will be appealing and useful to them, not to us, but to them. It is recommended that libraries create a process by which young adults can give input on facilities, programs, and services, such as a teen advisory board or a teen ambassador program. And not many of us have these ambassador programs. So these are what we need to rethink and refocus on. Bring other group of youth who are interested in the library, make them friends of the library, get them to be ambassadors, have a program, and see how you can work together. Libraries also need to recognize young adults as a resource for presenting programs to others in the community. So vital for the success of our libraries as well is get the youth to host the programs, get them to be more on board, get them to be more active. Examples of recommended programs. I know Injibulo has already gone through quite a few, but I would like to take you through some because this has worked well with in my library at Eastwood. Book talks, storytelling, and book promotion. And I know some of you may think, how would storytelling? Youth are not interested in storytelling. But let me tell you, I had a session on Monday where we are hosting our holiday program presently, and we had quite a large number of youth. And I asked all of them to close their eyes whilst I read the story. And it was a normal fairy tale story on 3 little pigs. And it was such a giggle after the end of the story, and we got to talk about the story. It was excellent. The youth enjoyed it. So what we may think will not work, sometimes actually works. It's up to us to be creative and to see how we can use simple stories to get the youth interested. And having other tools as well, because we did a story map around that story. So it's a simple story that grasped their attention, and we got onto chatting about other things with the moral of the story as well. So these are things that we can do. Have discussion groups and clubs, form clubs, go to the school, see if we can get a reading club going, a book club going, a debate club. There's so many things we can do, a spelling bee club with the youth. There's a lot of things, a music club. There are so many things, a chess club, I can go on and on, but these things work because every young adult has their own interest, and they would love to be included in what we are doing at the library as well. But let's speak to our youth, get to know them, and see what is of interest to them. Information programs on topics of interest such as health, careers, current issues. Empowering youth does on sexual health, which is, the youth are so involved and so want to get to know everything about sexual reproduction, about sexual health. It's amazing. Celebrity visit of authors, athletes, persons of local interest, performances of cultural nature such as music, art, and drama. Presently, Sandile was sitting with me. He's got a drama club running from the library where he's teaching other young children as well. He's included them into their drama production as well, which they take to the schools, and they make a small amount of 500 per children. I mean, just last year he made, I think it was 2,000 something for himself and for his production team. So it's empowering you to do something with their talent and teaching other people as well at the same time. Workshops designed to teach a skill or for creative expression, that's stuff that you can hold. Reading debates, book promotions, these are all of interest to youth. I'd like to say, read a quote by Nelson Mandela. Young people are capable when aroused of bringing down the towers of oppression and raising the banners of freedom. So this is something that is important, for us to think about when we are addressing young people. Cooperating with other institutions, the quality of, sorry, I've just skipped that, sorry. So staff, another important aspect when dealing with the youth is the right staff. Staff who work with young adults should have the following skills and cooperation and skills and competencies. And they should be understanding of the unique development needs of the youth. They should respect youth as individuals. They should have knowledge of the youth's culture and interests, ability to create partnerships among youth in the community and address the needs of them as well. Be flexible to follow the changing needs and interests. They should have the ability to advocate for the youth within the library and in the wider community. They should have the ability to work in partnership with the youth and knowledge of all media, including books and resources in all formats. And the staff member should also be able to have creative thinking skills. It's no use having an old member coming in and who has no interest at all in the youth, and then you want that person to be involved. Get someone who's vibrant, who's excited about the youth, who wants to see development amongst the youth. That is the person you should be getting. And make sure that staff has the knowledge and the skill, knows how to network in order to make the programs happen. Cooperation with other institutes, the quality of the library services for young adults demands a good network with other professional or voluntary institutes in the local community, right? The young adult activities in culture, education, and social life must be coordinated so that the local institutions do not compete, but cooperate for the benefit of the young adult, right? No one is an island. We cannot operate alone. And when we are also working with other people as well, we should not compete against them, rather work together, right? So even if you're marketing yourself, always be thankful and grateful that you have the network of people who are working with you. Don't put yourself on the top and forget about the people who've helped you to get where you are. Many librarians have the resources and the know-how to be professional coordinators for the benefit of young adults. And many of us are already doing this within our library sector. So it's nothing new to people, right? Educational networking, right? Schools are one of the most important partners for public libraries. I can't stress this enough, right? In many countries and regions of countries, there will only be a school library, a public library, or sometimes combined library to serve the public, right? Cooperative planning between school libraries and public libraries can improve local efforts to meet the needs and interests of young adults. A formal agreement is recommended to ensure the implementation of the plan of cooperation. And the simple reason I say this, that we need a formal agreement, is because you do not want the program to phase out, for the schools to forget about the program. But when you have something formal in writing, a memorandum of understanding, then everyone, you have the buy-in from the school. You've got a set plan going on. You've got a set schedule, etc., whatever you want to happen. And there's a clear understanding between you and the school exactly what it is that you're going to be doing, right? And the program can be sustainable thereafter. Because when you don't have a clear memorandum of understanding, then the school is also sometimes left in the dark, not knowing what is happening. So we need to be able to communicate with them effectively. Cultural networking. Cultural networking is an effective way of focusing on the identity in multicultural society so as to meet the needs of young adults. The public library, working together with other cultural institutions and young adults, can play and deliver cultural programs such as literature, music, film festivals, visual art exhibitions, carnivals, performing arts, including street arts. And I must say, we are quite fortunate that we work closely with Department of Arts and Culture. And even if we get into contact with the right person, they'll be able to come and work with us, and we can have amazing programs. Professional networking. Library staff should make a strong effort to cooperate with other agencies in the community that serve young adults. Regular communication with social services, employment agencies, welfare, law enforcement agencies, as well as other youth service groups, can assist libraries in becoming aware of new trends, developing social problems, and other local issues, as well as helping to reach young adults who wouldn't normally visit a library. Collaborative solutions can then be developed and implemented to improve the lives of young adults. Marketing and promotion, this is so important because many of us forget to do this. And if we do it the right way, we can go a long way, right? Promoting the library to young adults is an important activity. Many young adults do not know the scope or value of the resources that are available to them in the library. A promotional plan should include a variety of methods for reaching young adults. Some suggestions for marketing library programs and services are: make publicity available in places where young adults congregate, such as cinemas, cafes, popular stores, even the soccer field. You go to the clinics as well. You know, there's so many places that you can go to, churches as well. Build credibility by asking teens to help design publicity and other promotional materials, and by acting on their suggestions, right? So include the teens as well, the young adults, to help with the whole process, right? There's even WhatsApp group, there's social media, Facebook, TikTok is another one, Instagram, but TikTok is more popular now amongst the teens. We should be using all these platforms to promote our library services, right? Promote as on web pages. Promote service for teens on a library young adult web page. Sponsor events that connect the library to a cause that teens care about. So be present, see what we can do at events where teens are involved. Offer contests and promotions that offer young adults the opportunity to show off their knowledge and abilities. Design promotion materials that show an understanding of teen culture and interests, such as sports, celebrities, love, fantasies, new trends, and music. There's just so much that we can do. Make publicity available through community partners, such as schools and other organizations, whether it's a religious organization, whatever it is. I would like to take you through some, I know a lot of us are doing a lot of things. Forgive me if I wasn't able to reach other people, but I just did what libraries that was closer to me. So some of the programs I'd like to highlight is eThekwini Library Services, youth between the ages of 60 and 25 years of age. They had an Articulate Africa's Writers Workshop. Wartburg Library hosts yearly, this is an annual program, Careers Day, with a huge turnout of grade 12s come through. The library gets various stakeholders involved, Varsity College, UKSN, Pretoria University. You know, I must say Barbara reaches out to every university she can think of to get them at Wartburg. Of recent last year, I joined her as well. We collaborated, we teamed up, we held the drug abuse event for various schools within Wartburg. Msunduzi Municipality Sabantu Library has a youth transformation program which reaches out to the youth, changing their lives. Howick Library holds annually a Readers' Cup competition. Msunduzi Municipality, our northern branches, we host poetry, many other things as well with the youth, in collaboration with schools as well. You can see Georgetown Library, they had a civic education program organized in partnership with the DDP and NYDA. Eastwood Library hosts soft skills and computer training. So these are basically just a few of the programs that one can host. You can speak to the other libraries. If you are battling, my suggestion is connect, go onto Facebook, check what other libraries are doing, and copy, steal, whatever it is, what you're going to call it, paste it, you know, use it, try and make it your own program, but let's try and be active and see how we can get our youth involved. In conclusion, I would like to say public libraries have the potential to design youth programs that provide developmentally enriching experiences to participating youth. These programs can be a positive impact on youth services and the library more broadly. Implementing and sustaining these programs can be complicated, time-consuming, and expensive. And I know libraries are understaffed and underfinanced. Libraries should identify how they might take steps to build their capacity to develop youth programs and the expectation of what such programs should accomplish both for the youth and the library. Libraries should also consider how to invest in providing regular staff training on youth-related issues and in establishing space for the youth. I would like to also leave you with a little quote. If you really want to change the world, you have to inspire young people. That's how you change the world. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, Shanita.
Thank you, Sunita. I think the colleagues are probably having their minds going round and round, wondering how all of these things do happen in libraries. Colleagues, we are public libraries, and with public libraries, the word community is attached to that. And I think if we take that first step in rallying our communities, we can make a difference in the lives of our youth. And it is a fact where we see them on a daily basis, walking the streets, looking lost, having nowhere to go. Let us bring them into our spaces. Let us try to develop them and grow them. Even if we can impart one skill in one person, we are making a difference. I think our presenters have given you a lot to think about. I know there have been requests for the presentation to be shared. I'm sure our presenters can send their presentation to Apelela, and he will ensure that each one of you do get a copy of it. It's important because that's what we do as librarians. We share information. We don't keep that information to ourselves. So having said that, I would like to give you a few minutes for any questions or any comments that you might have before we do the closure. I know there are a lot of things. There was somebody who asked a question on what is referencing. I know Sunita has done a few workshops. So maybe Sunita, if you want to just answer what is referencing that you do in your library.
Hello, can you hear me? Referencing is more or less when you, an example is if you are quoting someone else, you will do the citation, right? And at the end of your, you'll do a citation within your, if you're quoting someone else's work. And when you are finished with your whole project, at the end you do a bibliography or a referencing. So the name, the author, the title of the book or the article, the year of the publication, the place of the publication is what you'll have to give at the end in your referencing section. I'm not too sure if that answers your question. So many people don't know how to go about doing that, whether it's Harvard styled or whatever. So we try and help them because it can be confusing if there's different referencing styles. There's also, if you're referencing for a magazine, it's different. If you're referencing a book, it's different. If you're referencing for a journal article, it's different. So those are the type of things we teach learners how to go about doing.
Thank you,
Hello?
Sunita. Hi. Hello.
Yes,
Is
we
there
can
any
hear
other
you.
question or comment? You can proceed. Okay. I don't think we're having any other comments or questions. Colleagues, are you all good? All right. I think we are fine. Colleagues, I think before we actually close, I'd just like to say if everybody can switch on their cameras for us, and that put the Liasa in touch. So I want to say thank you very much to all of you for being part of this PACLIG presentation this morning. To our speaker in Jabulo, you are a leader of the future. I know you will progress and do very well. Thank you so much for imparting your knowledge with us this morning. It has been really awesome. To our poet Sandile, thank you so much. Sunita, as always, a very active advocate for the profession, always so passionate about what you do. Continue to share your skills, continue to impart your knowledge, and reach out to the librarians across the country, especially the public librarians. I know they would want to work with you. To the Liasa National Office, Apelele and team, thank you so much for being part of our programs, for supporting us, for putting up with us, and having the patience. Colleagues, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We really appreciate it. I trust that this morning was an informative one for you. I do apologize again for the network issues, but please can I ask that all of you put on your cameras so that we can ask Apelela to do a picture for us. Apelela, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm taking a picture. I'll tell you when you can all turn off your yeah, I took one, but other people did not open their cameras. Okay.
Oh, do you want to try one more time?
Yeah.
Apelele, can you see
Colleagues, can you-
Sandile and myself? I'm not too sure.
Yes, we can see you. You're there.
And Sandile as well.
Yes. Okay, are we done?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you,
we're done.
colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Have a wonderful afternoon and
Please,
week ahead.
don't forget to share the slides.